So I'm a Bengals fan, bro. Look at all the bandwagon fans judging me. Anyway, as a Bengals fan, I can say this. The Steelers normally do a pretty good job of drafting. But there's one recent player that just really sticks out. I mean, you type in his name on Twitter, filter latest, and you get the same question over and over and over. What happened to Dre Archer? The speedy yet undersized triple threat was probably the most dynamic player in college football in 2012. But here we are just a few years later, and he's out of the league. What happened? Today we're going to look into this, but let me warn you, as of the time that I'm making this video, it's not a ton of information on exactly what happened. So what I'm going to end up doing here is taking actual facts and then trying to piece the puzzle together. What I'm trying to say is there will be some speculation, but I feel like I come to a pretty likely conclusion, so it's definitely worth sticking around all the way to the end of the video to see exactly what I think really happened to Dre Archer. And it might not be what you think. Alright, now before we jump into the video, I want to give a quick shout out to today's video sponsor, SeatGeek. SeatGeek is an app that has access to tickets from all over the internet, and they give that access to you right at your fingertips, making buying simple. They put a score of 1 to 100 on each ticket, letting you know the quality of the deal that you get. One of the doper features is you can preview the view from any seat that you may be selecting. That way you already know what it's gonna look like before you even get there. So if you plan on attending any game, click the link in the description, download the app, and make sure you use my code FlemLo for $20 off your first purchase. Dre Archer grew up in Tampa, Florida. He went to Venice High School and played nearly every sport that was available. Football, basketball, and track. Fun fact, he actually finished second in the state track meet, running the 100-meter dash. The cat that he lost to, world-class sprinter Dentarius Locke, who actually later went to Florida State and had the top time in the same race in the 2013 World Championship. Tough competition. Actually, back to that high school meet for a second, man. The cat that came in third, Denard Robinson. Wonder if his shoes was tied. Dre Archer projected much better as a track athlete than he did as a football player. Matter of fact, he got track scholarships to Clemson and Arkansas. But apparently Dre had fallen in love with the sport of football. He only got one D1 offer, that was to Kent State, and of course, he decided to go there. Now, if any of y'all went to college out of state or even in state but just far away from home, you could probably relate to being hella homesick. I know I was. After growing up in Florida and then going to college a world away, way out in Ohio, Dre Archer also fell victim to being homesick. Matter of fact, one of his Kent State assistant coaches said Dre Archer was the most homesick kid he'd ever coached. Dre went on to play 11 games during his freshman season in 2009. Nothing crazy. Ran for 246 and a touchdown, caught 19 passes for 231 and 3 touchdowns. And if you add in his 266 on kick return, you come out with a pretty decent all-purpose yard total. 743 total yards ain't bad for a true freshman. His sophomore year though, he actually took a step back as far as productivity on the offensive side of the ball. 210 yards was his combined total from rushing and receiving. 210 yards. Either way though, he did actually improve in the kick return game with 451 yards. Now in 2011, which would have been his junior season, he actually had to sit out because he was academically ineligible. Apparently, he had to retake a class, and for whatever reason, that class didn't count towards his credit. Y'all, I really hate this, dog. From the outside looking in, this might seem like a cop-out, but trust me, this happens all the time when an advisor is negligent. Your requirements change all the time, and your academic advisor is literally paid to do that one job, which is stay on top of that and make sure you're taking the right classes to remain eligible. But when they drop the ball, stuff like this happens. The worst part about it is the student athlete gonna take all the consequences, gonna take all the blowback, and the advisor basically just skates on through, no repercussions. Anyway, that seems to be where he really started to take things seriously. Junior season, 2012, Dre Archer took college football by storm. He rushed for 1,429 yards, caught 39 passes for 561, and had 591 in the kick return game. So that's over 2,500 yards and 23 touchdowns, which was enough to earn him the record for the most single season touchdowns in school history. And oh yeah, it did translate to team success. Kent State went 11-3, was in the top 25, and made a bowl game for the first time in 40 years. 40 years, bro. Dre would later say this: having to sit out for that year made me so hungry for success, I focused all that energy into last season. Now here's the cold truth. You gotta come out after having a junior season like that. You just gotta come out. There's no, I say it time and time again. I know some people are very against this, but it's my opinion, and it's actually based on logic, man. There's no upside to coming back. I mean, you're talking about a woefully undersized running back slash receiver slash returner. He's being projected as a 3rd round pick. After a year like that, yeah, man, it's time to go. No major injuries. We didn't play this college thing about as clean as you could play it. We had the ineligibility, but we shook back from that. We good. But he felt he had unfinished business at Kent, and he went back for his final season, which on his own merit is commendable. I just don't think it's worth the risk. As fate would have it, during his senior year, he got hurt on the first offensive possession of the first game of the season. After the injury, he saw his rushing attempts go from 159 during his junior year to 68 carries during his senior year. He only ended up gaining like a 1/3 of the yardage that he had gotten his junior year, and although it was due to injury, this basically made him a 1-year wonder. Fortunately for Dre though, the Steelers still took him in the 3rd round in the 2014 NFL Draft, right where he had been projected the year before. A lot of people felt like this was a reach and that he would still be available later in the rounds, but like I say, he kind of lucked out on that one as far as, just draft placement. 1000% the reason that Pittsburgh reached to go and get Dre, he ran a 4.26 at the NFL Combine. That is the 3rd fastest time since they started doing the electronic recordings. It was the 2nd fastest time at the time he ran it, right behind Chris Johnson. That was before John Ross came along. John Ross, man. Dre Archer never really found his place with the Steelers, but he never seemed to have much of a chance. I mean, in 20 career games, he only had 17 offensive touches, 10 carries and 7 receptions. Now he did have 23 total returns, but again, we're talking 20 games, so that's basically a 1 kick return per game average. Now after being drafted in the 3rd round in 2014, the very next season, 2015, week 9, middle of the season, the Steelers released Dre Archer, cut him. It was a wrap. And it was crazy because they brought in Jacoby Jones, who best days were clearly behind him at that point. Now we already talked about the lack of touches that Dre Archer was able to get on offense for Pittsburgh Steelers. That 20 games, that's his entire career. So if they cut him based on football, all they really had to go off with those 20 games. Of course, practice and stuff, but as far as in-game, 20 games. Now that season that he got cut, man, through that first half of the season, he was averaging 25.3 yards per kick return, which was top 10 in the league. Just to give you some perspective, man, last year Tyreek Hill was far and away the best NFL return man, right? He was averaging about 27 yards per kick return. Dre Archer was averaging 25.3, man. So I'm like, okay, what happened? First off, let's take a quick peek at his draft profile. He's very short and rail thin with no strength or running power. Yeah, they said no strength, like 0. Not a tackle breaker and goes down easy on contact. Limited as an inside runner. Can be knocked off routes easily and struggles catching on contact. Not a nuanced route runner. Very marginal, underpowered blocker. Could stand to do a better job securing the ball in traffic. Is not ideally built to withstand a full NFL season. Now the reason I wanted to read that out is because almost everything in that scouting report translated. Like you saw pretty much all of that on the field on Sunday. And when I say he had no ability to break a tackle, and he also seemed to struggle making dudes miss in the open field. Now I referenced Tyreek Hill earlier in this video. We all know Tyreek Hill makes a big impact on offense as well, but even if he was just on special teams, last year when he was the full-time return man, he was doing kick returns, but he was even better as a punt return. Meanwhile, in his entire career, Dre Archer only returned 1 punt for 2 yards. You can go all the way back to Kent State. He only had 6 punt returns for a total of 8 yards. So obviously, for whatever reason, he's not a very good punt returner. Now we all know kick returns are kind of being phased out, and the 3rd round pick Dre Archer wasn't making an impact on offense. So essentially he was a return specialist, but ain't nothing special about a return specialist who can only return kick return and can't return punts. Now I said all that because I do think that's true, but I definitely don't think that's the full reason that he would have gotten cut in the middle of the season. That doesn't make sense, you know what I'm saying? Like, that alone is not enough for you to cut your 3rd round pick, 2nd year player going into week 9. He didn't even play week 9. So what could it have been? I kind of think back to when Dre first went to college. Remember I said his coach said that he was the most homesick kid he had ever coached? Now you got to imagine, as an assistant college football coach, I'm pretty sure you deal with a ton of homesick kids every single year. So if we talking about the most, for you to say that, I mean, it must have been pretty extreme. Now obviously Dre eventually got comfortable at Kent State, but I think that separation anxiety, that same thing he felt when he left home and went to Kent, I think he felt the same way going from Kent to the NFL. I also think that may have played into his decision to stay his senior year because, again, there was no upside. Ain't like Kent was going to win a national championship. I think when Dre went to Pittsburgh, he didn't have that assistant coach there to help him get acclimated to being in a new place with new surroundings and now being a professional. Now, real quick, I am not blaming Pittsburgh at all. This is the NFL. This ain't college. You feel me? I'm just pointing this out as maybe a possibility as to what happened, okay? I just remember being homesick. And for me, it only lasted a couple weeks. But for those couple of weeks, my motivation was low. Every break I had, I was trying to go home. I wasn't trying to do no extra work, no extra film study, nothing. Like, I had free time. I was either on the phone with somebody from home, trying to get back home, or, you know, whatever the case like that. And there's also a bit of depression that I felt during that time. Now, again, this is speculation. I don't know. But I think that makes sense. And there's more that points to the exact same thing. Now, if we look at where Pittsburgh drafted Dre Archer, obviously when they picked him in the 3rd round, they had plans to give him more than 17 touches on offense. I don't care what nobody say. There's no way they picked him in the 3rd round and only planned to use him on kick return. Remember how I just said I was lacking that motivation and boom, boom, boom? I think Dre might have been doing the same thing, and he wasn't getting in his playbook and learning his plays and getting put in all these different positions and all these different plans that they probably had set up for him. He wasn't taking advantage of it. Also, I believe had he worked on it, he could have become a very good punt returner as well. So to be clear what I'm saying, I think it started as him being homesick. Like, that's kind of the root of it. And then I think it festered into something else, and there's more evidence to support it. Now, after he got cut November 2015, he signed a future reserve contract for the Jets, which basically isn't even official until the league year starts, but he can't sign with any other teams during that period. I'm not sure why he made that move. Maybe his agent, I don't know. But I think there was issues there, maybe with the location. And on May 9th, 2016, they waived him. The very next day, May 10th, the Buffalo Bills pick him up off waiver. And for whatever reason, he just never reports. Doesn't show up. I could not find an interview or word from him since then. Like, he wasn't answering the phone for them boys. He just completely had no contact with them at all. I remember Rex Ryan saying in an interview he had never spoken to the kid. And Rex then speculated, maybe he just didn't want to play in Buffalo. And about a week after he didn't report, he was also waived by Buffalo, and he has not signed with a team since. Now, Dre Archer today is 26 years old. He's a speedster with a very limited skill set. I don't know how realistic it is that he can get back into the league. I don't know if he even wants to get back in the league. The thing I do hope is that he's at peace with his decision. And I know one day, maybe one day soon, he'll do an interview or write a book or something and let us know exactly what happened. Why he decided to just fade to black, man. Fade clean, out the spotlight, and just out of the league. Anyway, let me know what y'all think about my theory. Make sense? Nah, you don't think so? Well, let me know what you think in the comments section. If you're brand new here, don't forget to subscribe and click the thumbs up button. Other than that, my name is FlemLo Raps. I'll holler at you next time.